Some say animals act on instinct, that their emotions are nothing more than survival mechanisms, simple reactions to the world around them. But what if we were wrong? What if, deep in the heart of the jungle, or even behind the steel bars of captivity, a gorilla was trying to tell us something? Something about love, about loss, about what it truly means to be alive? Imagine looking into the eyes of a creature who cannot speak our language, yet somehow understands us in a way that words never could. A being that feels joy, sorrow, and even grief just as deeply as we do. Science has long tried to draw a clear line between humans and animals, between intellect and instinct, between reason and emotion. But what happens when those lines start to blur? What happens when an animal reaches out, not just for food, not just for survival, but for connection, for something deeper? Would we recognize it? Would we listen? Or would we turn away, afraid to admit that maybe, just maybe, we aren't as different as we've always believed? In the dense green heart of the jungle, where the air is thick with the scent of earth and the distant calls of unseen creatures, there lived a gorilla unlike any other. Among its kind, it was strong, intelligent, and deeply aware of the world around it. But there was something more, something unexplainable that set it apart. It wasn't just a beast of the wild, surviving on instinct. It seemed to understand things in a way that felt almost human. From an early age, it showed an unusual curiosity, watching the world with deep, thoughtful eyes. It would observe its family, learning not just by imitation but by something greater, understanding. It would comfort those in distress, offering a gentle touch, a quiet presence. It played with the young, not just out of habit, but with a joy that radiated through the towering trees. It mourned its losses, sitting in silent sorrow when one of its own passed away. Those who watched from a distance couldn't help but wonder, was this mere instinct, or was it something more? As it grew, its connection to the world around it only deepened. It solved problems with ease, using tools in ways that had never been seen before. It communicated through gestures, sometimes in ways that almost seemed like a language of its own. And then came the moment that would change everything, the moment a human entered its world. A moment that would challenge everything we thought we knew about the line between animal and man. The first meeting was cautious, a silent exchange of curiosity and hesitation. The human, unsure of what to expect, moved slowly, careful not to intrude. The gorilla, watching with deep, intelligent eyes, remained still, its expression unreadable. For a long moment, neither moved, as if measuring the weight of the presence before them. And then, something remarkable happened. The gorilla reached out, not in aggression, not in fear, but in something far more unexpected. A gesture, slow and deliberate, a hand extended as if to say, "I see you. Do you see me?" The human hesitated, then mirrored the movement, their fingers barely brushing against the gorilla's thick, calloused skin. It was a touch that bridged two worlds, a silent promise that this would not be a meeting of dominance and submission, but of understanding. Days turned into weeks, and a bond began to form. The gorilla was no longer just an animal under observation. It was a friend, a teacher, a being with thoughts and emotions that defied expectations. It learned to communicate, not just through gestures, but through something deeper, an unspoken connection that needed no words. It would point to objects, request things with purpose, even react to the emotions of those around it. When the human was sad, the gorilla would sit closer, offering quiet comfort. When there was joy, it would respond in kind, playing, laughing in its own way, as if it too understood the feeling. There were moments that sent chills down the spine, moments that made even the most skeptical observers question what they knew. The gorilla recognized itself in a mirror, something only the most intelligent species had ever been able to do. It remembered people, even after long absences, greeting them as if no time had passed. It showed empathy in ways that felt impossible for an animal. offering food to others, gently holding an injured companion, even mourning the loss of those it loved. This was no mere creature of instinct. This was something more, a being that, in its own way, seemed to be asking a question, one that we had never truly considered before. If I can understand you, why can't you understand me? But the world is not always kind to those who do not fit neatly into the boxes we create. For all its intelligence, its empathy, its undeniable ability to connect, the gorilla was still seen by many as just another animal, something to be controlled, studied, and, when convenient, discarded. And then, the moment came that would put everything to the test. Change arrived like a storm, sudden and unforgiving. Perhaps it was the threat of losing its home, as machines tore through the jungle, destroying everything in their path. Perhaps it was the cold, unfeeling walls of captivity, where glass and steel replaced the trees and sky it once knew. Or perhaps it was something even more personal, the moment when the one human who truly understood it was forced to leave. It didn't matter what the cause was. What mattered was how the gorilla responded. There was no anger, no wild, uncontrollable rage, as some might have expected. Instead, there was something far more heartbreaking. A quiet sadness, a deep, knowing pain that mirrored our own in times of loss. It sat in silence, eyes heavy with emotions that words could never fully capture. It refused food, turned away from others, withdrawing into itself as if mourning something it could not explain. And then, when its human returned, days, weeks, perhaps months later, there was no hesitation, no resentment, only recognition, only relief. The gorilla moved closer, gently placing its massive hand on theirs, a simple touch that said everything words never could. I remember. I missed you. You are still my friend. For those who witnessed it, there was no denying the truth anymore. This was not just an animal reacting to its surroundings. This was something deeper, something powerful. A reminder that love, loss, and longing are not confined to humans alone. That the need for connection, for kindness, for understanding is something far greater than we ever imagined. The story of this gorilla was more than just an anomaly, more than just a case study in intelligence. It was proof of something we had long ignored, that the ability to feel, to love, to grieve, and to understand goes beyond the boundaries we once believed separated us from the rest of the animal world. Scientists, caretakers, and ordinary people who witnessed its journey could no longer deny what they had seen. It wasn't just mimicking emotions, it was experiencing them. It wasn't just reacting to humans. It was forming real connections, the kind of connections that change lives, that challenge beliefs, that force us to question everything we thought we knew about what it means to be alive. And this gorilla was not alone. Across the world, other stories emerged. Gorillas who mourned the loss of their loved ones, who remembered faces even after years of separation. Some had learned to communicate through sign language, expressing thoughts, desires, even humor. Others had shown acts of kindness that could only be described as compassion, reaching out to comfort a crying human, sharing food with a struggling friend, even rescuing creatures that weren't their own. So the question is no longer whether animals feel as we do. The question is, now that we know, what will we do with this knowledge? Will we continue to look at them as lesser beings, as creatures to be controlled, caged, and used? Or will we finally see them for what they are, sentient, intelligent, capable of love and loss, just like us? Because if a gorilla can teach us empathy, if it can show us the true meaning of compassion, then maybe, just maybe, it's time we start acting a little more human ourselves. The story of this gorilla is not just a reminder of what animals are capable of, it's a reflection of who we are. It challenges us to look beyond the labels we've placed on the world, to recognize intelligence not just in words and inventions, but in kindness, in connection, in the silent understanding shared between species. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently, then let it be more than just a moment of wonder. Let it be a call to action. Because the truth is, gorillas like this one still face threats every day: deforestation, poaching, captivity. Their intelligence, their emotions, their ability to love and grieve mean nothing if we continue to turn away from their suffering. But awareness is the first step toward change. The more people who hear this story, the more who understand that animals are not so different from us, the closer we come to creating a world where they are protected, respected, and allowed to live as they were meant to. So share this story. Let others see what you have seen. And the next time you look into the eyes of an animal, whether it's a gorilla, a dog, or even a creature in the wild, remember this: you are not just looking at an animal. You are looking at a life that feels, that understands, that is capable of things we are only beginning to comprehend. And maybe, just maybe, that understanding will make us better too.